Yep, that's right. 2 days in a row you get to hear my, well, let's be honest, annoying voice before the music even begins. And why? For the same reason as yesterday. It's Draft Guide Week at hoop-ball.com, and as of this very moment, the Draft Guide is on sale. Went on sale Friday morning, in fact, and it is on mega cheap discount for just Friday, Saturday, and Sunday only. This podcast, let it serve as a reminder that as of early this morning, the Draft Guide on sale, $13.99 is the price. It's the lowest it will ever be. It goes up on Monday. It'll go up again before final buzzer, weeks, months from now. And even if you use coupons down the line, you will never get it lower than $13.99. The coupons might get you to $14.99 or $15.99. But this weekend is the lowest price. Coupons, no coupons, whatever discounts you might be able to pull out of your hat that the Draft Guide will ever be. In addition, because the Draft Guide is on discount, that means everything else is on discount. You can get what we're calling affectionately the Pro Package, which is the Draft Guide and the full season membership at Hoop Ball. That's called Game Time Premium now. Those are on a combined discount. You can get those two things combined with the early Brewski 150. Remember, the B150 comes out on October the 7th. It gets added to the Draft Guide, but if you want to get it 2 weeks earlier, there's a package for that too. That's called the Champions Package. This weekend, the cheapest price for any of those three packages. This is the lowest it will get. This is your chance. If you wait, it'll be more. We'd love it if you bought it later too. That's fine. But if you want to get it at the lowest price possible the entire season, draft season, I should say, the Draft Guide, the Pro Package, Champions Package, this weekend only, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. By Monday, it'll be over. The sale will be over. It'll go back up to a normal price. 400 player profiles, team breakdowns, articles, mocks, dynasty coverage, ADPs, and then, of course, the B150 on October the 7th in the Draft Guide. Get it now. Go to hoop-ball.com. You can find it there. Easiest way to find it is to follow Hoop Ball Fantasy on Twitter. An automated email went out first thing this morning. Hopefully you guys got a copy of that. And if you have any questions, there's a lot of ways to get in touch. Support at hoop-ball.com. You can send us an email. We'll get you the information that way. At Dan Bespris, at Hoopball Fantasy, at Hoopball Tweets. Whatever you want to do, whatever you need to find, we will help you get there. And we have a beautiful landing page. A beautiful landing page this year for the first time ever. We'd love it if you guys check that out. Even if you don't buy anything, you can tell us how lovely the landing page is. Okay, that's it. That's the promo for this morning. Massive, massive, massive props and thank you go to the entire Hoop Ball back-end staff. Chris and Thomas working on the tech side. Brew, Mike, who we affectionately know around here as Panda, Eric, and the entire editing team, the writers, the editors, to get this thing out by Friday. Unreal. I mean, you guys, you're not going to believe the type of stuff that's in this thing. 400 player profiles. I mean, who the hell knows about 400 players? I don't. That's why I do a podcast, because I can cleverly say, oh, yeah, let's go along to the next thing. All right, 3.5-minute promo done. Enjoy the show. Adrian Coach coming up right now.
The following is a Hoop Ball presentation. Welcome to the Fantasy NBA Today podcast.
We are back. Hello and welcome to Fantasy NBA Today. My name is Adrian Benjamins and I'm joined by Coach. And this episode is brought to you by Hawaiian Isles Kona Coffee Company. Get some delicious coffee. Taste that Kona difference. Head over to hawaiianisles.com and Amazon and get some coffee. Coach, how are you doing?
Yo, Adrian, how are you, my man?
Good.
I'm a little hoarse tonight, so I apologize for I've got some type of allergies grabbing me, and they are giving me a real tussle, but other than that, doing great, man. I can't believe a week went by this fast. It's time just rolls. It rolls by.
Man, the weeks are flying by. Actually, I'm gearing up. I got a big fantasy football draft this Saturday. We go over to my buddy's house to draft. We have a big barbecue. He's gonna smoke some brisket, and we play horseshoes and cornhole. We make a full day of it. It's amazing. So I'm trying. I am nowhere near as tuned in and knowledgeable on football like I am in hoops. So, Coach, literally, I just started this week cram all these fantasy football pods and looking at rankings because I don't want to. I don't want to be that guy that's going to draft like DeMarcus Cousins in a real draft, right? Like, I don't want to do that in football. Like, so I want to make sure I know who's healthy, who's not. So anyways, Coach, I'm a little bit out of it. Luckily, we're kind of we're still in that slow period of the NBA. So we thought we would talk about a couple things. And one of the things we want to talk about was Team USA. And Coach, you've been very vocal about your support for Team USA. They have gotten a lot of criticism, and I know you have definitely been on the other side supporting Team USA. So I want to kind of get your thoughts on the team, Coach. What do you think about what's going on with them?
Well, it was the first scrimmage was today or yesterday, I guess, in Australia, since we're like a whole day off from over there, and it was a big deal in Australia. That was the largest crowd ever to view a game there. 51,000 took the game in, which is really impressive for just an exhibition game. So it's a big deal all over the place. I know everybody sort of downplayed it a little bit this year, and everybody will get into it next year with the Olympics. But this team has a lot of intrigue, and they came out today in this scrimmage after all this travel and everything, and really played well. They won by 16. Coach Pop sort of getting somewhat of a rotation going. I mean, everybody got some minutes, but sort of seeing who the key guys are. They also named team captains this evening, which I thought was a little surprising, but wonderful. Kemba Walker and, believe it or not, Marcus Smart are the two team captains for Team USA, which those guys get after it, so I can see why Pop wanted to go that direction. But just a quick summation of the game, Walker's obviously the go-to guy. He poured in 23, but you had just a ton of good support. Miles Turner with a terrific 15 and 13 game. Donovan Mitchell had 13, Jalen 11, Kuzma 12, and Jason Tatum 11. And then just everybody else chipped in with a few buckets here and there. But starting to look like, he's coming up with a rotation. Obviously Mitchell and Walker are going to be key. Looks like Jaylen Brown, Kuzma, Tatum, Turner, and Harris are also getting main minutes in the rotation. So they're looking good. They've got another scrimmage with Australia on Saturday. And then the schedule came out for pool play for when it begins on September 1st. And we played Team Croatia and then Team Japan. And so it's, our bracket looks like it should be winnable. And I think the team's coming together well. And, again, with Coach Pop in charge, I feel really good about it. So, stay involved with it. For those on the forums, we're starting to get some, just people chattering, giving opinions, and, following what's going on. So, go Team USA.
So I got an interesting question for you. So we've seen some guys drop out of Team USA. Two guys who I thought were a really good choice for the team. One, Trae Young, and two, De'Aaron Fox. And, we're hearing some rumblings that they didn't like that. I think in De'Aaron Fox's case, we saw Derek White get a lot of run ahead of him in that Spain scrimmage. We know that Derek White has that connection with Greg Popovich. So, and then the flip side to that too, I think Trae Young as well. There was another guard who got more minutes over him. So I think both guys kind of decided like, hey, if we're going to play 6 minutes off the bench and not really get the run, we'll sit out. Do you think, I think maybe what Coach Pop is doing is he's kind of not really going off of who's the best player on an individual basis or who's the biggest star, but just more like who's the best fit for this team. And I think, maybe that's why Pop decided to give more minutes to guys like Derek White or Marcus Smart or so I don't know, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think it was a bad thing that we lost Trae Young and De'Aaron Fox on that squad, or are you fine with the current squad that they got?
Well, the biggest reason I've been jumping on this so much and been all over Twitter and our forums like crazy, and let me give a shout out to, by the way, this is a big deal around the world in basketball, and I received several Twitter followers this week from Serbia that listened to our show last week. And I'm sure they're listening again this week, and they just wanted to. We had mentioned that the Serbia coach was talking trash about USA, God help him, this and that, and I didn't know who the Serbia coach's name was. Well, I found out from our wonderful followers and listeners now that have joined in on Twitter what an accomplished player and coach he is over there, and very well respected. And just have had a lot of good, banter. There's a lot of great fans around the world that love the game. And, I've spoke about this with them on Twitter this week as well. As I love what Pop's doing here, because he's, again, when you try to put an all-star team together is what this is, and you try to just get all-stars that are alpha dogs that need to shoot 20 times, you're in big trouble. You need your role players that are going to do what needs to get done to get it finished. So that's not a problem. The issue that with these guys dropping out that people need to that just don't understand whatsoever, and I've talked about a little bit on the show, but let me just go into it so that there's a premise and everybody understands really what it's about. Is the commitment to play. It needs to be done ahead of time for some of these guys, because you're talking about, this tournament doesn't start till September. They're across the world as far as they could get over in Australia. Then they'll be in China. So they're going to bump into about 2 weeks before the preseason games open by the time they get back. So that's an exhausting, haul and a big commitment for these guys. And here's the issue. FIBA moved it since 1950, they've always been 2 years separate from the Olympics. For some reason, they chose to, and FIBA makes a lot of poor decisions, in my opinion, but they chose to do it the year before the Olympics. So, by rights, you can't ask these guys to give a full year round 2 years in a row. It's just too much to ask with the travel and the commitment. So a lot of these guys dropped out because they either weren't 100% well. For example, Trae Young had a pretty bad eye infection, and he was just concerned about getting healthy and right for the season. And then a lot of these other guys, the same thing. They just, I don't think they were prepared for this type of commitment as much as they want to be part of USA basketball. And so, it's not as much as they dropped out because they didn't want to play or represent their country. It was commitment to their team and their contracts and what they have to do with their NBA team. So I think, as I stated last week, I think you'll see this FIBA tournament become sort of a under 23 type thing for the guys that can be prepared ahead of time, like the Bagleys and Youngs and De'Aaron Foxes, to play in this type of situation, and the big boys won't even mess around with it. And then for the Olympics, then you'll have the Anthony Davis and LeBrons and those guys playing that. So that seems to be the trend right now. I don't think there's any negative feeling going, or there's any lack of, what the media is trying to make as this not being a big deal, because it is. And the team that we have is terrific, and I think we're going to get in there and we're going to win the championship.
So I agree with you. I really like this team. I think they get unfair criticism, but I do want to talk to you just real quick. This will be our little last thought on Team USA, and then we'll move on. We'll move on to the rest of the show. Coach, there was a Ringer article that I know you did not like that asked the question, is this the worst Team USA in modern history? And Coach, I know that did not sit well with you, that question. That did not, I know it really struck a chord. You had strong feelings against that question because you really like this Team USA. I do too. But Coach, I gotta ask you, do they kind of have a point in that when you're just comparing roster individuals to previous teams? I mean, it's clear that this team lacks the name and star power than the previous teams. Let me give you an example, Coach. 2016, you had Jimmy Butler, Durant, Lowry, DeRozan, Kyrie Irving, Klay Thompson, a healthy DeMarcus Cousins, Paul George. I mean, you got like 10 All-Stars on that roster, right? Going way back in 2004, you got Allen Iverson, Dwayne Wade, Melo in his prime, LeBron again, Sean Marion back when he was the Matrix, so when you are just comparing rosters by themselves, just guys, wouldn't you kind of agree that this may be, just name star power wise, the worst in the modern era, maybe the worst Team USA? I'm not saying they're bad, Coach. I'm just saying when you compare them to the other Team USA teams, would you say that this is maybe the thinnest, worst of them?
I would say that it's not really fair to compare because the Olympics are next year. And again, that factors into everything. Those other teams you mentioned were 2 years out for the Olympics. And, there's also a bunch of players through the years that I could go through, that Lamar Odoms and on of guys that weren't exactly the top of the crop. So I get it. This is not our strongest team in that sense, but this team is very solid. I think they'll be very competitive, and I think, again, you'll see the younger group playing in FIBA going forward, and then, the guys like you mentioned playing in the Olympics.
Yeah, and Coach, I almost kind of felt like it was a blessing in disguise we didn't come out with like Harden and Westbrook and all the major stars, because I think it's going to be more competitive. I still think we're the number one team and we're going to win this FIBA this World Cup or whatever it's called. I still think we're going to win. I think we're the number one ranked team, but I do think it makes it a little bit closer. I like this team. I mean, you still got some great stars with Kemba, Donovan Mitchell. So I think this team's going to do great, and I'm really looking forward to seeing some international ball coming up. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. All right, Coach.
And you know what? It's better for world basketball. It's better that we go out there and maybe struggle and win a game by 8 or 10 as opposed to going out there and rolling somebody by 40. I mean, I think it's good for some of these other up-and-coming basketball programs in some of these countries. So it's good for basketball all the way around. But I'm looking forward to the end of it to go back and say this team really did a great job, and I think they will.
Next topic up, we wanted to touch on the Los Angeles Lakers. Coach, devastating injury for DeMarcus Cousins, who had his third major injury, and I think just within 2 years. And Lakers now kind of scrambling to find a center. Coach, this is a big loss for that team. DeMarcus Cousins as a third or fourth option on the Lakers team would have been perfect, would have been outstanding. I think he would have done really well there. I really think this is a big blow for the Lakers, especially when we talk about how tight this race is looking like for the Western Conference, with the Clippers being strong. Utah, is up there now, and I still think the Warriors are going to be in the mix. So this is a big blow for the Lakers. Now, we're hearing rumors that they have individual workouts with guys like Dwight Howard, Joakim Noah, I believe Mo Spates, Marcin Gortat. So, Coach, want to get your thoughts. What do you think the best options are for the Lakers right now?
Well, first of all, I want to chime in with the Cousins news. It's just really devastating, for him. Can he come back from this third injury and being out this long? I mean, he may never be back. And, the other thing is he never cashed in on a big long-term contract. So, and obviously I doubt that's going to happen at this point. So really sort of shocking and disappointing for him, but I hope he's able to get back to at least compete again. As far as the Lakers go, there's a lot of debate out there. I mean, obviously the history with Dwight Howard there, has so much bad blood on everything that happened. If he's changed the way it sounds like in some of these interviews, he may be a good help there. For me, I think Joakim Noah is just such a great fit. I just love him. He just plays his tail off. I still think he has a little basketball left. That would be the direction that I'd go personally. But, I think they want to do their due diligence, look at all these guys and see, who they feel is going to fit in best. And, it's not a bad group to choose from. And I think they'll be fine. I think as much as Davis has made it very public that he does not want to play the 5, he's probably going to have to suck it up and play a little bit of 5 some this year. But, I think they'll be fine.
So I'm leaning towards Marcin Gortat as my choice for the Lakers pick. I think, he, out of all these guys, he's played he's played more recently than guys like Noah or Howard. I think he's got a little less injury concern than those guys as well. I am a big fan of Noah. If Noah is still physically able to hold up, I think he's a great defender. Maybe he's a great defender, great rebounder. I love that back in Gortat's day, or even just maybe 3 years ago, he was able to hit a mid-range jumper, good rebounder, decent defender. Probably not as good a defender as both Howard or Noah, but I think Gortat might be the most capable right now at the current state of these guys. But it'll be really interesting to see what goes down. I probably, out of the three of them, the guy I would want is Dwight Howard. But so for me,
I'd like to take this time to officially apologize to all of the Hoopball AB and Coach listeners for that Marcin Gortat backing. I officially declare that I was not part of that statement.
Okay, that's it. I feel board bet number 2.
I'm just telling you right now, if I'm up at the rec tomorrow and our man Marcin Gortat's on the side, he might not be my first pick. I'm just saying. That's nothing personal for Marcin, but
Okay, that's it, Coach. I got board bet number 2.
Come on, let's go. You're not going to board bet Marcin Gortat.
I'm going to say Marcin Gortat will be a Laker. Do you say Joakim Noah will be a Laker? Is this board bet number 2 for us, Coach?
Does Amazon Prime deliver chicken suits at this hour? Because I'm going to send it over right now.
All right.
Yes, put it on the board, brother.
It's official. Well, let's put it on the board. Coach is going for Joakim Noah as a LA Laker. I am voting for Marcin Gortat. Let's see how this goes, and let's see what happens. Interesting stuff here, though, Coach. It'll be, but just none of these guys compared to Boogie Cousins. And as you said, Coach, very sad to see if this is the end or the beginning of the end for DeMarcus Cousins. This is really sad, man. Coach, I remember Boogie Cousins those last years in Sacramento. He was an absolute monster, and I thought we were just starting to see the beginning of this beast center, elite player, and to see his time cut short like this. Hey, I mean, Coach, I'm praying that he comes back healthy and that he is able to return, and I would love to see that. But definitely very discouraging, especially, him suffering an Achilles injury. And now this is just, for a big man, it's just so hard to come back from. So fingers crossed, Coach.
No doubt.
Okay, let's move on to the main course of the show. Coach, you had this great idea of doing a 3-man mock draft, and we are going to bring a special guest onto the show. Coach's son Dawson will be joining us for a 3-man mock draft. Dawson, how are you doing?
Excuse me, I'm doing good. I'm happy to be here. I'm a little shaken up from that Marcin Gortat pick.
See, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, man.
I love it. Hey, let me ask you guys, out of those 3 guys, which guy was still playing in the NBA last season? I think Marcin Gortat. Marcin Gortat was the only guy
you need
playing.
To quit while you're behind. Listen, I wanted to say something real quick. It's a pleasure having Dawson on, but it's funny how generations go. My dad was like a psycho NBA guy. I went to games with him from when I was small, and he coached small college basketball, and he was a 2-time state championship as a player, as a point guard at the actual high school I ended up coaching at, Erie Cathedral Prep. And then my son has followed in the footsteps. He's also psycho NBA guy like us, and has been playing and being involved since he was in diapers. So just what I wanted to do is bring him on today just to give a little fresh view to sort of what we've been talking about a lot lately is, everybody's asking us, who do I take in my, drafts that are coming up? And we're sort of through most of the the drafts where you're saving your guys and everything else, and now we're into the year-long drafts that are going to be coming up. And from all the activity in the forums and on Twitter, it's amazing. But I can never remember it like this. But the top 10 or 20 guys, everybody has different opinions on it. And we've talked about it so many times during these shows in the last couple months. With all the player movement and all the even teams, nobody really knows where that usage is going to go, who's going to jump up the list, who's going to fall down the list. So I thought that the best way to do this was just have sort of a quick 15-man draft where the 3 of us each pick 5 guys, and we'll just draft in order like a mock draft would be. And put our opinions in there so that people can, take some notes and agree or disagree. And then, hit us up on Twitter and on the hoop-ball.com forums to throw your opinions, and we'll get in some discussions in there. So we did a poll of picks, and Dawson gets the first pick, Adrian's second pick, and, of course, I get the third. So with no further ado, in the first year-long 9-cat league mock draft, Dawson, you've got your first pick.
So for my first pick, there's only a few guys first I think you could debate, really. Maybe 3 or 4 at most, but I went with Anthony Davis. I think was the clearest and safest first pick. Really, there's no category he hurts you in. He could shoot more 3-pointers maybe, but the only thing I'd be afraid of is he misses a handful of games every year. But other than that, he's very safe. Everything he does is just productive. What do you guys think about that one?
I love the pick, man. I think right there, for me, he's at the top of the list only because I love how you said he doesn't hurt you in any category, right? Some of these other guys who we would take there may hurt you in turnovers or something. So Anthony Davis, I think he's elite in the most amount of in more categories, doesn't hurt you anywhere. The scarcity on the center position, plus he gets blocks, which is the hardest stat probably to get in fantasy. I love the pick. He would have been my number one pick if I had the first pick. Coach, any thoughts there?
I think it's a terrific pick. My fear, and I've had Davis, and he's been great, but he does miss games, and he, misses them. He's been in that concussion protocol like 4 times and missed handfuls of games, and so there's a little fear with that. But no, I can't argue it. I mean, again, he's going to help you in all the stats across the board. No argument there. So you're up, AB.
So with the number 2 pick, I think the more the popular opinion would be to take James Harden, but I'm gonna try to stay away from his turnovers, and also I'm a little curious how he's going to look playing next to Russell Westbrook. I think he's still going to be great, don't get me wrong, but I think I'm going to go Steph Curry here at pick 2, only because doesn't hurt you in any categories, gonna win me threes, great in assists, good in steals, free throw percentages there, and I'm curious if we see a bump from Steph Curry with Klay Thompson, who's gonna miss the beginning of the season, and with no Kevin Durant. I think they're really gonna lean on Steph Curry. So much has been made last year about the Warriors not being able to win without Kevin Durant. I think Steph Curry's going to come out this year with a chip on his shoulder to say, hey, look, we're still a top team. I'm still the best player on this team. So I'm going to go Steph Curry, guys, with my number 2 pick.
You know what? I don't think that's a bad pick at all. I mean, again, that's why I think we're doing this draft, though, is because you could draw a fine line between so many of these guys. It makes it almost impossible to pick. So here I am with my very first pick overall in the 3 hole, and never thought I would have to pick between Giannis and Harden. So I'm scratching my head trying to figure out, there's pluses and minuses with both guys. But, I think I'm going to take Giannis Antetokounmpo. I mean, he's, put a lot more muscle on. He seems to just be blowing up in this with Greece and getting this FIBA experience, and I don't think we've seen what is he's even capable of, even though he was the MVP. So in the 3 hole, I just can't pass up Giannis. What do you guys think?
I agree there, Giannis for sure. If he falls to you at 3rd, I would stick with that, unless maybe you like James Harden instead. But like you were saying already, Harden kills you in the turnovers. There's not many better rebounders than Giannis. Blocks and steals, he both helps you in. So I think that's a pretty safe pick at 3 for sure.
Yeah, I mean, no complaints from me here. Little surprised you didn't go Harden, but Giannis, I mean, what can we say? The Greek freak, right? I mean, the MVP season he had this last year looked fantastic. Word is he's working on threes, working on his outside shot. I mean, could you imagine if he adds that to his game? I mean, he's going to be elite, arguably, one of the best players in the league. So it was a great choice.
All right. Well, that puts Dawson back on the clock for pick number 4.
So for 4, obviously, I think James Harden is the safe pick here. We all mentioned him already, especially to pair up with AD. That's a guy that will just carry you in points. 3-pointers made is another one. Free throws made is a huge one. With Russell Westbrook coming in, a lot of people don't think it will work. There's only so much usage that players on their team that will get that usage. I don't think anyone else aside from those 2 guys will dribble the ball at all, period. So James Harden, I don't think he'll have that much of a step down from last season.
I love the pick. I mean, heck, we could have done this with another group of people. He could have gone number 1. So the best guy on the board. I'm not I'm not too worried about Westbrook being there. We saw Westbrook coexisting with Paul George, and Paul George excelling. So I think, if anything, we might see the same thing with Harden. So, man, rumor is he's working on some new move, right? Curious what that's gonna be. But anyways, great choice. I mean, I think that. I mean, like I'll tell you what, if I had that pick, I wouldn't even want Harden, but I would feel like I almost would have no choice but to pick Harden there. So great.
I mean, I think it's a toss up. I mean, I was almost going to take him with the Giannis pick. So, I mean, when you look at the amount of free throws he makes and his percentage alone, it just one man could carry you in one category, alone. So, all right, man, you're on the board. Are you going to take Klay Thompson to go with Steph Curry?
No, definitely not. I want to get a big. I took Steph Curry with my first pick. I want to get some blocks, right? So I'm looking at a big. I was thinking maybe Jokic, Cat, but Jokic doesn't really get you blocks. So I'm going to go over to Cat. This guy finished last year in 9 categories as the number 3 overall player in fantasy. So I think he's going to be great this year. I'm hoping he matures, he improves, and I got my big to pair up with Steph Curry. I'm going Cat.
Yeah, I love that pick. I think the second half of last year especially, he was just phenomenal. And I think he's, unless you count Davis as a center, the best choice you have at center. 3-point percentage as well, and 3-pointers made is a huge thing if you can get that from your center, especially if you're taking him that high. So I love that pick.
I'm super bummed because I wanted Cat very badly there. I am not the biggest Jokic guy, and I know everybody says why the dude's a triple-double and this and that, everything else, and Denver's an up-and-coming team, but I still think Cat's a step above Jokic. So it's my pick, and man, oh man, it's hard to step away from Jokic at this point, but I'm looking at Embiid, to be honest with you, as well. Again, is he going to miss games? Jokic seems to be pretty durable. I think I'm forced to go with Jokic here. And he's not my favorite guy, like I said, but the dude, assists, he was in the top, I think he was 7th in the league in assists last year, or something ridiculous as a center. You just can't deny his abilities. I hope gets in a little bit better shape. And, Denver, if they're going to be great, he's going to have to be great. So
I like the pick. I almost think, I could tell probably not it wasn't your first choice, but you kind of almost feel like you got to go Jokic there. I mean, finished as player number 7 last year. One of the things that I love about that pick too is that he gets you assists like a point guard from your center position. So, Coach, you went Giannis with your first pick, who's pretty decent in assists. Now you go Jokic. I mean, that you got 2 guys who help you in that assist category. I just love getting that out of position stats. I think it was a great choice. One last thing: centers that give you good percentages, shoots it well from the field, good free throw shooter. I love that, man.
Yeah, I would have got Jokic as well there, for sure. But for my next pick, I'm going with Damian Lillard, actually.
Ooh.
I know that might be a controversial one. At number 7, at this point in the draft, I feel like there's a handful of guys you could take. Paul George, Kawhi even. But for me, Lillard, I hear some of those other names, and I get worried about load management. Lillard played 80 games last season, averaging 26 points a game, 37% from 3. I just think he's really going to have to carry this team if the Blazers want to make the playoffs this year.
I like that pick, man. You actually sniped me there. I was hoping to get Lillard. I think maybe right here is where the draft kind of really starts, because there's some different ways you can go here. So I was really hoping you were going to go another direction. I love the pick. Let's see. You got Lillard. You got You took Harden, now Lillard, so you're locking up threes, right? You got 2 elite 3-pointers with Harden, now Lillard. Maybe the only one knock on Lillard bogs you down a little bit with your field goal percentage, but I was going to take him. So he's still so good. Finished as player number 6 last year in 9 category leagues. He's locked and loaded for another outstanding season. Great pick. All right.
You can't argue that pick at all, man. He's awesome. And my favorite play of the year was when he hit that 3, like from half court right up in Paul George's grill. That was awesome.
Yeah, outstanding. So I'm in a conundrum, man. I'm kind of on tilt right now. I was really hoping Lillard would be there. I'm looking at my ranking right now. I don't want to go Embiid because I'm worried about the health and DNPs. I'm a little bit. I do like LeBron, but I got him a little bit further down my ranking. I'll tell you what. I think I'm gonna go with a guy. I think I'm going to go with Bradley Beal here with my next pick.
Wow.
Last year, let's see, finished as player number 10 last year. I think he's going to be great. No John Wall. So I think he's going to be the number 1 guy on a not so great team, by the way. So I think we're going to see some inflated stats. Just the fact that the Wizards are going to really force feed him and look for him to score. So I think Beal's going to have a good season. Now, the only one thing I'm a little worried about is possibility he gets traded in the middle of the year if the Wizards decide to completely go for a rebuild. So that's a little scary if he ends up in a situation not as good. But I'll be honest, guys, I had him a little bit further down my list, but these guys that I'm looking at ahead of him, I don't know. I just decided to go Beal here.
Yeah, I absolutely love that pick. I think this is the slot around this area where he belongs to be taken, or he's supposed to be taken. But I think this is a guy that will slip down in a lot of drafts. So if you can get him 12, 13, absolutely take him. He played 82 games last season, led the league in minutes, and that's extremely durable. And he'll come in as a leader. So they're looking to win games because they're really going nowhere. So
yeah, I mean he played 82 games last year. One of the only stars that did it, and you can't beat it. Now I'm like everybody else. I think I have him like 15th or 16th on my board. And this seems high, but man, he's such a good player. And he's a guy I think that'll be on the Olympics next year. By the way, I think he'll be one of those guys that steps up. So, good pick, man. A little early, maybe, but good. And this lets me pick the guy that I've been touting. You know what's coming, Adrian Benjamin. I've been touting this guy because I took him in my Dynasty League. Even I just am ecstatic to take. I'm taking my talents not from South Beach, but to here with LeBron James. I think that, again, as I've stated on this show multiple times, I think last year was sort of a off season for him. He didn't play hard on D. He knew they weren't going anywhere, so he's sort of 100% healthy right now with Davis. I really feel he's going to make an MVP run. That's how much I'm high on LeBron this year. So I am thrilled to add him to my Giannis and Jokic squad with Mr. LeBron James.
LeBron is a really interesting guy this year, Coach, and Dawson. And I think one of the reasons is last year, due to injury, due to the Lakers just tanking, we saw LeBron probably have one of the worst seasons in his history in the NBA. I mean, I don't know, where did he finish?
Dude, he averaged 28 points a game. Give him a break.
But my whole point is that this year, I think we're going to see him kind of come at a really good value, meaning I've seen him on ranking lists out of the top 10, and why I think this is so great is because it would not surprise me if we see the Renaissance King LBJ and he has the year that we're used to and he finishes it as like a top 5 player. So this is what makes, I think, him really interesting this year is people are devaluing him, how I just mentioned, and I think it's possible he falls in that 10 range in your draft or even in that early teen range. This is a guy that could easily finish top 5. So this is why I think LeBron's an interesting guy Good pick, Coach.
I got him 15th in that other league. So, I mean, people are devaluing him.
Exactly what I mean.
If he's not a top 5 guy at the end of the year, I would be shocked.
Yeah, LeBron I really like as well. 34% from 3 does not hurt you anymore. That's not a concern for him anymore. It's hard to tell if he's getting old and breaking down, or if that was just a freak injury for him. So I like that pick there as well. I think his turnover numbers playing point guard will be up this year, but if you can afford that, then I do like that pick.
All right. Dawson, who do you got next?
This one is tough. I think I'm going to have to go Paul George here. And, I was thinking of Russell Westbrook, but I really just can't do the turnovers. 3-point percentage is just brutal. I know Paul George last season, especially that first half, was looking like an MVP, but we really haven't seen him like that since that shoulder injury. So the big question for him will be how he recovers. Will he be the Paul George that we saw in the playoffs last year, or will he make that full return? Not sure if he's going to be ready for the start of the season. I don't believe he is.
They're saying he could miss up to 3 to 4 weeks at the beginning of the year.
Yeah. So that definitely does hurt, but if he bounces back even to 75% of what he was coming in the start of last season, then I think he's got the highest ceiling out of anyone that you can get at this spot.
I like the pick. Guys, he finished as the number 2 overall player last year in fantasy.
Yeah.
So as long as he doesn't miss a lot of time, I'm a Clipper fan. I'm in the LA area. I really got my fingers crossed that he only misses a few weeks and not a month to 6 weeks. I really hope it's more the 2 to 3 week range, because if he gets back and if he's the Paul George we saw, the MVP candidate we saw in OKC last year, that is going to be an outstanding pick, because he's going to be a top 3 fantasy asset once he's healthy. He's going to be giving you top 5 numbers easily. So I think that's a great pick.
He's definitely worth the risk, and he's one of those break or bust guys. If he is back and playing at that level, like you said, I mean, he was number 2 last year overall. He could win you a league, taking him in the low, teens or wherever he ends up going. All right, AB.
Oh, man. So this is a tough one for me. I mean, I really want to take Jimmy Butler here, I'll be honest with you, but the highest guy on my board is Kyrie Irving right now. I got him number 9 in my rankings, and he's still on the board, so I kind of feel like I got to take Kyrie Irving here. I'll be honest with you guys, I'm not like a big Kyrie Irving fan reality-wise, but I do think he's going to have a good season as long as he can stay healthy. On the Nets, they're missing KD. I think he's really going to show that he made the right decision to go to Brooklyn by balling out. I think he's going to have a big year just because he's going to be the number 1 alpha. He's going to have the ball in his hand. Doesn't really hurt you anywhere. So I guess I'm going to go Kyrie Irving here.
I think it's, it's might be a small reach. I've got him a little lower, but Brooklyn plays up tempo, and he could be an absolute monster. It could be a great pick.
I agree with that. Russell Westbrook is another guy that I think people would consider there, but Kyrie, just efficiency-wise, just destroys Westbrook. So I know if you're all about that, then that's a guy you'd want.
And I'm going to shock everybody with this pick. It makes no sense because I have big guys. I have Giannis, Jokic, and LeBron. And I know that the pick probably here would be a Westbrook or some of those guys, but I am not going to let Joel Embiid go any further. I think Joel Embiid is an absolute monster, and I will find a place on my team for him anytime. So my pick is Joel Embiid.
I like Joel Embiid. I think he's fantastic. I'm a little scared off of him personally this year, only because, we know there's some health concerns there, maybe possibly DNPs. The other one thing I'm worried about is they added Al Horford, who, I think Embiid and Horford can coexist together. I think they can be on the court at the same time. But I also think there's times where if the game's a blowout, maybe they just don't bring Embiid in towards the end of the game, because when you got Al Horford, why not rest Embiid? So I still love Embiid. Reality-wise, one of my favorite players, one of the best centers in the NBA. He's number 8 on my ranking list, so I probably should have went Embiid. A great choice. I think I just shied away from him just to kind of play it a little bit on the safe side. But great pick, Coach.
Yeah, if you want to be safe, definitely he's not going to be the guy that you're going to target. But 27.5 and 13.5 is just monster numbers. I mean, this guy is when he plays, he's absolutely dominant. It just depends on if he plays, and you really can't predict that. So it will just depend.
And my reasoning on him is based on Horford. I think Horford is going to be the perfect mix for him because he can teach him, he can calm him down, he can help on defense. Horford isn't a post-up player, so Embiid's going to still own everything inside. I think he is going to be the guy that, Horford, that brings Embiid to the next level.
Good pick. All right, Dawson, where are we going next? Last pick.
So this one is tricky, but I think I have to take Jimmy Butler here.
Oh, you sniped him again.
If you look at the usage of Miami, you see them playing Justice Winslow at point guard, getting a lot of that usage. That just goes to show you that Jimmy Butler will take up most of that. I think he could be in a similar position, bringing the ball up the floor, running their offense, really. Especially with my team, I think I have right now Paul George, Lillard, and Harden. I think I can afford a guy that doesn't shoot as well from 3. But depending on how you are in that category, he might not be best, but he doesn't kill you. 34%, I think, from 3, so not too bad there at all.
Solid pick.
I like the pick. I was actually going to take him with my last pick. I think he's going to be extra motivated in Miami, and I think he's going to be the number 1 alpha. That's his team, and I think he's really going to show out this year and have an out. As long as he's on the court, he's one of the best players in the NBA, and I think he's going to have a good year, and I think he's going to be healthy all year. I think he's kind of I'm hoping he put the injuries behind him, and he's ready to go. I think we're going to see a really motivated Jimmy Butler, and that could be pretty scary, man.
I agree. I think he's going to be more motivated and more comfortable where he's at than he has been in the last 3 or 4 years. So he could be a guy that just blows up this year. I think he could be terrific.
Yeah, for the first time and maybe ever, this is like where he wants to be, right? He didn't get traded. He chose to be in Miami. They're giving him the keys to the car. I'm expecting him to just go crazy. All right, my last pick. So, I got Curry, I got Beal, I got Irving. I'm loaded with guards. I'm kind of looking for a big here. So even though this guy's not at the top of my list, and I actually got him like in the middle of the second round, I'm just kind of really looking for a big right now.
Let me guess, Marcin Gortat.
No, not Gortat, but he is an international player. I'm going to go Nikola Vucevic here. Finished as player number 5 last year in 9 category leagues. They paid him money. They committed. The Orlando Magic have committed themselves to Vucevic, which was a surprise to me, guys. I'll be honest with you. I thought they were going to let Vucevic go. I thought they were going to maybe go younger and go Mo Bamba, but they signed Vucevic, I think, to a 5 or 6 year deal. So I think he's kind of locked and loaded this year. I love that he's not going to hurt me anywhere. No negatives in any category. Shoots it well from the field. One of the things that surprised me last year, blocked some shots last year, which surprised me. I've never known him as a shot blocker, so I really hope he keeps that up.
Yeah, I really like Vucevic as well. I think the Magic, they're on the uptrend. They were in a situation where they thought they were going to trade all their big pieces and just restart young, but now in a weak Eastern Conference, they look like playoff locks almost, I think, for sure. And very safe pick, even he's not very injury prone, nothing like that. I think he'll go out there and be tough.
I think it's solid at this point. I think he's the best center on the board. I like Vuk. I think he'll do well for you. And I will finish out the draft with the point guard that's only averaged a triple-double for 3 years in a row. I mean, I don't care if he turns the ball over. Mr. Russell Westbrook will join my all-star squad. I mean, I know his percentages and all the heat he's taken about that, but I have seen a lot of video of him and Harden working out, shooting, so I think he can only go up from there and do well. So I'll give a quick recap so our listeners can shoot some stuff over to the forum and on Twitter, and I'll tell you where you can find us on Twitter so you can give your opinions on who has the best squads here. We've got Dawson with Anthony Davis, James Harden, Damian Lillard, Paul George, and Jimmy Butler. Mr. AB has Steph Curry, Kat, Bradley Beal, Kyrie Irving, and Vukovic. And I have Giannis Antetokounmpo, Jokic, LBJ, Joel Embiid, and Mr. Russell Westbrook. So there we go, listeners. That's just a little feel for that very important picks in the draft, and hopefully that gives everybody a little help. Even our friends around the world, our Serbian following, and everybody else that's out there. So,
and I did want to mention, none of us even mentioned Kawhi Leonard, which for me the reason was just the load management, but I wanted to get your guys' take on that.
Go ahead.
No, I do like Kawhi Leonard. I actually got him ranked 15th on my ranking, so I got him right at the beginning of the second round. I'm a little worried too of the load management, DNPs. I don't know. I probably should have had him on my team somewhere. That's a really great that you mentioned him, actually, because now that I think about it, man, I probably could have used him on Team Adrian. I don't know, man.
What's funny is I have him ranked 11th on my board, but I just kept passing him by. Same thing. I just is he going to have load management? How is he, what role is he going to play? Is George going to take more shots than him? I mean, there's a lot of questions.
Okay.
So who knows?
I got an interesting take of maybe why we passed him by. Look, Kawhi Leonard last year, outstanding season, finished as player 18. So off the top of my head, I think he missed quite a few games just due to load management. So, I'm kind of got him in the same situation as last year, right? So I would see him kind of having a similar year than last year. So maybe we can expect him to finish in that 18 to 16 range. And maybe that's why we all kind of decided to overlook him. I don't know.
Could be. I mean, that's why we're putting this all out there for sure. But a couple things before we wrap up, I wanted to mention. Just I had broke the news last week on the show. Wanted to mention it again here at hoop-ball.com. We're getting involved with a DFS basketball that will be coming up. We're going to launch in the preseason and go through some of that stuff, and we'll be doing those shows on a daily basis. So we really want to be, the go-to place for all of your basketball, all the news. We have tremendous local podcasts with the Clippers and a bunch of teams now that we have direct podcasts on locally. We cater to the dynasty leagues, the year-long leagues, head-to-head leagues, daily fantasy. We want to really own the space for you guys out there. So hit us up on hoop-ball.com on the forums. My Twitter is @Joe Sarvadi. That's JoeSarvadi, also known as Coach. And look forward to hearing all your comments. And I'd like to thank my son for being part of the show tonight. It was fun to have him on for the first time, and maybe if a couple of his guys pan out, we'll get him on again someday.
Hey,
yeah, thank you so much for having me, guys. This is fun for me. I'll be on here anytime you need a third guy to jump in.
Dawson, you were fantastic, Coach. I think we need to have him on often on this pod. We will make up reasons to include him onto the show. He was fantastic. Thank you so much, Dawson. Guys, one last thought. Tomorrow, we are recording this Thursday night. You're probably listening to this on Friday. The Hoop Ball Draft Guide is dropping today. You guys, this means this means fantasy has officially started when the Hoop Ball Draft Guide is out. You guys, 400 plus player profiles, handcrafted projections and rankings, content by the great legendary Aaron Bruski himself, along with Dan Bespris, Mike Passador. The Brewski 150 alone is reason to get the draft guide. So you guys go get the Hoop Ball Draft Guide. We poured in blood, sweat, and tears into this thing for you guys to dominate your drafts. Get this thing, start studying it now, and kill your drafts and have a fantastic fantasy season. Coach, any closing thoughts there?
Yeah, I am with you, man. One correction, though, the draft guide is the best guide in the industry. You got to have it if you're playing fantasy basketball. So you have to get that draft guide. It'll be out today when the show comes out. You'll be able to catch that. It is phenomenal. It does not include the Brewski Top 150. That's the correction I wanted to make. That will drop later as it gets closer to the preseason. Because that's fine-tuned. I mean, that really moves a lot of, people's thinking in the marketplace because it's such a well-respected list. So I would recommend jumping on this draft guide today, and then keep your eyes out for the Brewski 150. It'll be out later, and we'll keep you posted on that. But, again, thanks for listening, and look forward to next week.
All right, you guys, as Coach said, thank you guys a lot for listening, supporting the show. We'll see you guys next week.
This has been a Hoop Ball presentation.